Welcome. I am Claudia Noriega-Bernstein, abundance coach, author, and host of the award-winning Don't Shrink to Fit podcast, which recently won the Woman in Podcasting Award in the coaching category. Over the past 15 years, I have the privilege of connecting with women from around the world, and I am here to share all the tools I have learned along the way to help you uncover new possibilities in your life. In this space, you will hear impactful stories from women who have walked in similar shoes, sharing their wisdom and insights. Each week, I welcome a new guest, open and ready to support you on your journey. Together, through spirituality and coaching, we will explore your passions, reveal your inner gifts, and embrace possibilities you may not have thought were within reach. Let's grow beyond limits, so you never have to shrink to fit again. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to have today Vivian Vosmediano. She is a friend, but she's also a coach. And I'm going to let her explain in more detail what it is that she does, because not only she had a very enlightening and courageous journey, but she has made a lemonade and a lemon pie and a lemon bun cake out of her experiences. And she's so inspiring to me. So, Vivian, welcome to the Don't Shrink to Fit podcast.
Wow, thank you so much for this introduction, Claudia. It's so interesting when somebody asks me, what do? I just do what I do. I think we have to come up with a name for what I do. So I tell people I'm a trauma-informed mental health coach. I'm trained in two forms of psychotherapy. Although I call myself a coach, I work more like a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I am trained in form of psychotherapy called IFS, Internal Family Systems, and I use it a lot. It's parts work. So we deal with parts of ourselves. So I feel like my work is about connecting people with their emotions,
Mm-hmm.
connecting people with their stored emotions that are inside of their body. Because a lot of times when we go to talk therapy, it's all about just talking and telling the story. And people are so caught up in the story that they forget that they have emotions. So I've worked with people that say really harsh things like, I wish my mom would die. I wish something else. Very, very harsh things. And they get so caught up in the story that they forget that they have the emotions. So I bring people back into their body and help them feel the emotions that are happening in the present moment and how their body's responding, whether it's tightness in their chest, tightness in their throat, stomach aches, and
Mm-hmm.
just deal with it at that level in the body.
But you went that line in that line of work because of your own experiences. You
Mhm.
had a very I'm going to use the word challenging for a lack of a better word, but a very challenging childhood and adolescent years where you have to face um, kind of something that was imposed to you. And I'm very drawn to that and very curious about it. Actually, we were talking before we started that I'm doing a retreat in April, and the retreat that I'm doing is the art of unbecoming, because I'm gonna be working with art too, but the juicy part of it is learning to unbecome what our mother, our society, our religion, our coaching school told us we are supposed to be. And there comes a moment in our lives when we don't feel comfortable in our own skin. And we're like, what is missing? A lot of people that come and coach with me, they're looking for the abundance in the material things. They think, oh, you're an abundance coach. I want you to help me, blah, 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 blah. And they don't understand that the inner abundance is what we are all looking for. And we cannot find that until we find who we are, and not who the outside world is dictating that we should be. So, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to get to where you are now?
I love that you said the word unbecoming, because I wrote an ebook about 2 years ago called Unbecoming to Become. So
Mm-hmm.
this concept of unbecoming what religion, society, and our culture has made us be, so then we can become our most authentic self. So I was born in Baghdad, Iraq. My family immigrated to America when I was 1.5. My nationality is Chaldean. When I was 6 years old, my mom became a Jehovah's Witness. And my dad and my two older sisters remained Catholic, while me and my mother became Jehovah's Witnesses. I followed her lead. My mom was a child bride. She was 14, and my dad was 32 when they got married, and she lived a very tumultuous life. So I felt like she deserved a daughter to follow her lead. My older two sisters were very rebellious, and I just wanted to make my mom happy, make my mom proud, make my mom love me. I didn't get any attention from my dad. He was working all the time. And as I was growing up, my dad started drinking and also abusing my mother physically and verbally. It was a very hostile environment that I was growing up in. I was also sexually abused by two men in my teenage years. And then in my early 20s, I married a former, or he was a Jehovah's Witness as well. So I was a Jehovah's Witness, a devout Jehovah's Witness, very much in the religion. If you're not familiar with the religion, it's a cult. You're isolated from the world, and the only people that you're interacting with is the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
You can have acquaintances outside of the religion, but you can't have friends. You can't do any after school activities. You can't go out after work with your colleagues. You have to really stay confined into the religion and the associates in the religion. So my whole life was wrapped around the religion.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I married my first husband, who was a Jehovah's Witness, I was in a very controlling household. My mom has all these narcissistic tendencies, very controlling. Everything had to be about her. I never felt like I was good enough. She was very critical. And I went from one controlling household to another controlling household with my first husband,
Mm-hmm.
controlling and insecurity. So I took on a lot of his insecurities. Again, I could never feel good enough for him. And between that and then the religion, I just felt suffocated. So I actually married my first husband because in this dynamic that I was in my family, I just wanted a calm space. Like, I'm a very calm person, and my family is very loud and there's so much drama. And with all the abuse, I just wanted to escape that and belong into a calm family. And my first husband provided that for me. He was a calm person, and he came from what I thought was a good, quote unquote, American family.
Right.
So when I joined his family, I felt that reassurance of just being calm. And after being married to him for almost 8 years, the controlling, like I said, it really got to me So actually, I ended up, so the only way out of a marriage in the Jehovah's Witnesses is if you cheat on your spouse. So I ended up cheating on my first husband, and I told him I wanted a divorce. And in that process, they excommunicated me from the religion. And
Mhm.
when they excommunicate you from the religion, you lose your entire community. So December 2011, they excommunicated me from the religion. And I tried to get back into the religion for 2 years. So at this point, I lost all my friends. My mom stopped speaking to me. And all of the people that I was close with, they completely shunned me. So it's, if I saw them at the grocery store, they would turn and walk the other way. It's like I was dead to them, like a ghost. And it was horrible. So I ended up moving from Detroit to Chicago, where I started this new life, started building an Instagram following as like a fitness influencer, and then became certified as a wellness coach. And I was building this audience on Instagram, and they were like cheering me on and rooting for me, and they had no idea my other life that was happening to
Right.
me. I was creating all this great stuff, but I was in this, I call it these 2 years of purgatory, where I couldn't make any friends outside of the religion because I was trying to get back into the religion, and none of my old friends would speak to me.
Mm.
So for 2 years, I wrote, in that time, they call letters of repentance to try to get back into the religion because I miss my mom, I miss all my old friends. So in that time, I tried to get back in, but they were rejected every single time. They told me I needed more time to go by, which did not make sense to me, but it's just this how it happened. And then after 2 years, I really just sat with myself and like, why am I trying so hard to get back into this religion? And it was because of my mom, because I promised her I would come back in. So at that point, I decided I'm not going to get back into the religion. I moved to California because I really loved the fact that there was so much health conscious people.
Mhm.
And I moved there. And then 4 months after I moved there, I met my second husband, who was a personal trainer. And it just made sense that we were going to work together. And then we became online wellness coaches for years, and in-person wellness coaches. And yeah, that happened. And then there was so much in the dynamics between him and my relationship that reminded me of my parents. The hot and cold, the silent treatments, the anger. He had a really temper, very similar to my father. Not abusive, but very critical. And I was just put back into that situation where the trauma follows you. You can't just get rid of it until you heal from the original source.
Mhm.
It follows you. And even though I missed a lot of it in my first marriage, it followed me in my second marriage.
Right.
And until I realized how damaged I was, how big my abandonment wound, because I told my second husband if he left me, I would have suicidal thoughts. Because I had this huge abandonment wound from my
Right.
whole community abandoning me as a Jehovah's Witness. And
Mhm.
then also feeling completely isolated as a child because I didn't show my emotions as a child. I had so much anxiety constantly. I was having anxiety attacks once a week, at least for 2 years. And then after going, I had shared with you in 2015 doing ayahuasca for the first time.
Mhm.
That's when all the trauma really came up. That's when I really understood how much my sexual abuse had um, ruined my life, how much the abuse from my father had hindered me,
Mhm.
how much the religious trauma affected me, how much my mother affected me, and it took a toll on me. And like I've been working on this now for 10 years since that experience. And when I finally decided that I was going to leave my second husband because it was not a healthy relationship at all, I felt like I had to heal that abandonment wound. And once I was able to heal that, that is when I had the courage to leave that relationship. And that was 2 years ago. So that, yeah, that was 2 years ago. And it's been quite a journey. So I went from being a wellness coach for over 10 years, and my clients were just opening up to me so much about their their traumas, their childhood, their marriages. And I told myself, I really need to get educated on this because I was still dealing with my own stuff. Like, how am I supposed to give these people advice? Like, I need to learn. So in 2020, I took a year course with Gabor Mate, and that completely changed the trajectory of my career. He's such an amazing human being. And then I took in 2023, I got certified in internal family systems, which is the second form of psychotherapy that I'm trained in. And in 2018 is when I started hosting private journeys with psilocybin.
Mhm.
And since I started doing my work with ayahuasca back in 2015 and realizing how much plant medicine helped me, I wanted to introduce it to my clients. Because, like I said, they were opening up to me, and people were always telling me, I feel like I can tell you anything. You feel so safe, and constantly like hearing that. And it was like I said, it was quite overwhelming. So I felt like I needed to do something. And I always tell people I can only help somebody as much as I've helped myself.
Mhm.
So I'm constantly trying to work on myself. And now that I've let my unhealthy relationship go, a healthy relationship just like came my way. And that was last summer. So that's been pretty amazing. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And yeah, and we connected through hosting retreats. I've been hosting
That's
retreats
true.
now in Costa Rica for the last 2.5 years. In 2022 is when I started hosting retreats in Costa Rica, but I
Wow.
only work with 3 women at a time. And I
Mhm.
work with psilocybin in San Pedro. And for me, safety is so important when it comes to women opening up. We see these like huge spaces where there's like 15, 20 people, and it's kind of scattered. It's very unorganized, very discombobulated. And they don't feel safe enough to fully let go and feel safe enough to express exactly what they need to express, to feel held, to feel seen, and
Mhm.
then also go home and have the integration. So yeah, that's where my work is at right now. Sorry, that was kind of like
No,
a
that's
long
fine because I
answer.
think it's very important that people understand your journey and where you started and where you are now. But I want to touch on a couple of things. It's so common, and that's why the unbecoming is so important to me. And I have my own journey of unbecoming what my mom or my family or my community expected me to be. Um, and it is an aha moment. But I am curious to ask you, why do you think we keep try to fit in on something that we know in our soul is not who we are meant to be? Because you said many times that you wanted your mom to love you, you wanted your mom to be proud of you, you wanted your mom to know that you were there for her, even though she was a narcissistic and emotionally unavailable. It was you trying and trying and trying, although you knew that that was not for you. So, why do you think humans do that? Why do we go back to the oppressor? It's kind of like when somebody get kidnapped and doesn't run away even though the door is open. You know,
Mm.
wait, in your journey, what have you learned that is the main reason why we stay in those situations? I understand fear and I understand the codependency and the attachment, but I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, there is something else. It's kind of like an addiction to that pain.
Yeah, in Gabor's Mate's course, I learned something really interesting. He says that we were born into this world with two basic needs: authenticity and attachment. Authenticity is to speak our voice, to be who we're supposed to be. And then attachment is being attached to our caretakers. And that is for nurturing, for them to nurture us and for them to take care of us. And we will always choose attachment over authenticity. So
Oh,
we will always sacrifice our own needs and wants
mhm,
in order to be attached to our caregivers. And if it started at a very young age where we were sacrificing our authenticity to then get that love and validation from our parents, even if it was breadcrumbs, we will
mhm,
continue to do that in adolescent years and in adult years. And we will lose ourselves in relationships because we will feel that if we the more we sacrifice ourselves and the more we take on the other person, what they want from us,
mhm.
then they will love us.
Right.
And we're always seeking that love that we never got back in childhood. And
Mhm.
until we heal from that, we're going to continue to carry that into adulthood, into different relationships, whether it's a partner or a friend.
but we look for the same patterns.
Exactly.
Because you didn't know at the beginning that your second husband had those patterns. You just saw whatever you wanted to see that make you feel, oh yeah, this person is going to love me for me and I'm being authentic. But suddenly you are in that relationship, the attachment comes back and you start emulating and start becoming a person that you're not, just to please that person that is next to you. And with that, you want to feel accepted, you want to feel loved, you want to feel enough, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And with my second husband, we actually got married after 2 months of knowing each other. And half of it was long distance. And we got married so quickly because I was going back home to Michigan to visit my family, and he needed papers to stay in the US. He's Swedish and Spanish. So I was like, well, we both kind of want to get married. So let's just go to the courthouse and get married. So yeah, we were April 1st, he emailed me. April 3rd, we met each other for the first time. And June 4th, we were married. So, like I said, the first 3 weeks we were long distance. He was still living in Miami. 3 weeks after that, he moved in with me in Huntington Beach. So, technically, like, we were in a relationship for 5 weeks before we got married. And I didn't realize he had a temper until our wedding day. Like, literally, we got married. And then that evening is the first time I saw he had a temper. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what am I in for?
This is so
But yeah.
crazy that you're saying that, because my first husband smacked me in our honeymoon. I had no idea that he was a violent person. And I was having a conversation with him. I turned around and he slapped me across the room. And I went like, wait, what? What just happened? Because in those moments, and I'm sure you felt the same way, it's like that is just not him. I mean, he's doing this right now, but this is just not the person I marry. It can't be. I cannot. It's impossible that I was so blind, right? That I didn't see those traits. So we go through a process of convincing ourselves, and it's not just in marriage, it's in every relationship we have. When we were, for me, it's kind of like a trauma response, we know that this is bad, but we are very good in looking for evidence that it's not that bad. So maybe I made him mad, maybe I shouldn't say this. So we put all the blame on us, and that takes the authenticity away from us, and the codependency comes to the driver's seat, right? Because we're like, we need this person. I'm already married. I'm not just gonna, I gotta do everything I can so this works, because I wanna know and I wanna feel that I did 100% whatever I could to save this relationship. And that's the narrative we have in our head, right? So instead of falling in love over and over and over again with your partner, you convince yourself over and over and over and over again that you gotta stay there, because if you don't, then you are A, B, C, and D that your parents told you were. So you don't want to prove them right, right?
Oh, yeah. And then there's that trauma bond, that hot,
Mhm.
cold, hot, cold. So when it's good, it feels so good. Maybe it's passionate, maybe you're laughing, maybe you're having fun, maybe you're playful. And then when it's bad, you're like, I just completely ruined this relationship. What's gonna happen now? Is he gonna apologize? Am I gonna apologize? You're just walking on eggshells because you don't know what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it's good and everything is good, and then it's bad again. And that pattern of that hot cold is something you experience in childhood. Maybe
Yeah.
your parent was there all the time, but they weren't emotionally there. And when they were emotionally there for you, it was like the best thing ever. But then they would be gone. Maybe they would be going drinking, and then you wouldn't see them again for a couple days. And then when they would be back, they would be in the room, but they wouldn't be present with you. Maybe they're present with you, but just for a little bit, and then they would be gone again. So it's that hot, cold relationship you had with one of your parents. It's going to be repeating in your relationship. And like I said, if you don't heal it at the core, a lot of these therapies now, like cognitive behavioral therapy, it's just surface, changing your habits, changing your thought patterns. And it's kind of like breath work, meditation. Like, it's good for the moment,
For
but
the
it's not
moment.
for long term. We're
Exactly.
not getting to the core. We're
You're
just
not
healing.
gonna heal because you do breath work every single day. No, you gotta feel the feeling. And, when I talk to my daughters about emotions, we're very transparent. I mean, I never want my kids not to say what they feel because they're afraid how the other person is going to react. I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You can
Mm.
say the same exact thing in a kind way and being open to receive that feedback, because what you are feeling might not be my intention, what I try to give to you to make you feel. So it's good that you have the freedom of saying, did you try to make me feel this way, or did you try to say this to me? Because that's how I received it. And many of us didn't have that opportunity when we were kids, to the point that I remember my mom saying, stop crying, stop crying. And in a way, you're telling your kid, suck it up, your feelings don't matter, I don't care how you feel. In this moment, I need you to be quiet, to smile, and to behave, because those are my needs, and my needs are more important than yours.
Mhm. And then you grow up and you're like, I actually don't even know what I need, what I want, and I don't even know what emotion I'm feeling. Well, if your whole life you were suppressing, like you said, your mom told you to stop crying or you're too sensitive. If you're
Mm-hmm.
spending your whole life doing that, how are you gonna start feeling your feelings when you're 45, 50 years old? It's like your whole life you've been programmed like that.
Right.
So maybe dissociate. Maybe you watch TV or you doom scroll or you're addicted to shopping or you're addicted to something else, drinking, because you're constantly starting to feel the feelings and you numb yourself. Or maybe even you dissociate a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
dissociating is a very big thing where you could start feeling feelings come up and all of a sudden you kind of go blank. There's like a thick cloud over you. And then you're like, oh, what just happened? It happens all the time with my clients, and just bringing them back as they're experiencing that, but it's their body's way of protecting themselves
Right.
to not
Yeah.
feel all the things that
It's
are
a
coming up.
defense mechanism. It's like, if
Absolutely.
I don't acknowledge that feeling, I'm not going to feel it, and I'm going to be okay. And
Absolutely.
then you go back to try to fit in. And that's something that you said at the beginning. You wanted to feel that sense of belonging. That's why you keep going back to that community. But in reality, you were trying to fit in because that was not who you were meant to be.
Yeah, and fitting in has always, like my past, I felt like I always wanted to fit in. We have this deep need of belonging,
Mm-hmm.
belonging to a community,
Mm-hmm.
belonging to a family, and it is something that is an innate part of
It
being a human.
translates to love.
Yeah,
That's how
absolutely.
we think we feel love. If I belong, that means that I am wanted. And yes, 100%. If you belong, it means that you are wanted. But what's the price you are paying to feel like you belong? Doesn't mean
Mhm.
that you belong because you feel that you belong. You have to be authentic. And we go back to what you were saying before, authenticity and the codependency to the person that takes care of you. And so now you got to choose, am I going to be my whole person, enough, worthy? And if I belong is because I'm attracting that crowd, or I'm going to push myself into being part of this community that really doesn't look at me like if I'm worthy of being part of it.
No, because the more authentic you are, the more you're going to attract the people that are attracted to your authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And the more powerful you feel in your authenticity, the more purpose you're going to have in your life, and the more calmness and peace you're going to have within. And
Right.
in my opinion, happiness equals inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
Inner peace, because a lot of people don't have that. They might have all the things, but their inside feels like a complete mess.
Right.
And if you can have inner peace, your outer world is going to be a catastrophe.
100%. I wanted to ask you, if you could go back to that 10-year-old when everything was crazy, what would you tell that 10-year-old?
Hmm. Wow. You are so much more braver than you even realize.
Because at that
Yeah.
time you didn't feel you were.
No, I actually felt really lost. I felt like there between being my religion and my culture, because I'm a daughter of an immigrant, I'm an immigrant myself to America.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt so lost. And I guess I could tell myself back then that you were never supposed to belong. I guess that's what I would tell her. You're never supposed to belong anywhere. Um, you will eventually find your people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you stop trying to belong so hard,
You're trying to
when
fit in.
when you try to when you stop trying to fit in
Mm-hmm.
and you step back, you're going to be alone for a long time. Like I was alone for 2 years before I started like
Mm-hmm.
figuring out who I am, what I like, what I don't like. And it actually took me leaving the US to meet my real friends. Like I tell people all the time, I didn't meet my real friends until I was over 40. So I'm really grateful now. I'm 45. I feel like I have some decent friends, but
Mm-hmm.
it's taken me a long time to get here. It
Right.
really has. Because I think people just want like, why aren't I finding friends? Why aren't I? Because again, they feel that they're forcing themselves
Right.
to be with people.
It's
And I
a
think
to-do
that's,
list.
yeah,
It's a to-do
exactly.
list, like when you think I have to be married at this age, or I have to have a kid at this age, I have to have friends. I am 58 and I'm going through a period of time that I am shedding friends.
Mm.
And it's crazy because for many years I was the friend that called, I was the friend that did something, I was a friend. And when you grow up feeling that void of feeling that you belong, or of feeling that you are worthy of being loved, you become a people pleaser and you do whatever people want you to do, or you go constantly the extra mile because you want to feel that needed, like they want me to do that, or I do so much for so many people. And then when you stop, which is what you just said before, then people resent it, because people are like, wait a minute, not that they were appreciating that much when you were doing it, but now you're not doing it, so it's like, why she's not doing it. So you have that friction with some people that were in your life, because they don't like that new version of yourself. They don't like that you're putting yourself first and saying,
Mhm.
you know what, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get curious about myself. I'm going to learn about myself. And then I'm going to decide if you are going to be part of my tribe or not. It's not going to be the other way around. I'm not going to wait for you to choose me. I am going to choose you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. My mom, she stopped speaking to me for almost 13 years because of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and only recently started speaking to me again because some of the rules in the religion have been changed. Although when I went back, I visited my family. I spent 3 weeks with them for Christmas because my father's dying of cancer. My
So,
mom had audacity to tell me that I was going to die in Armageddon, and unless I decided to come back into the religion, and that I was like a girl on the streets because I'm posting a video with my new boyfriend. It's like, I
in
had
a
some secret,
bikini.
and then I'm in a bikini. Oh my gosh, my dad made me feel like I was a complete whore because I
You are
was in
a
a bikini.
prostitute.
I'm
How
a
dare
I'm a
you?
prostitute. He's like, what? He's literally showed me a picture of me in a bathing suit, and he's like, what is this? You should be ashamed. You're my daughter. I'm like, what the heck? I'm a 45-year-old grown woman. Like I'm your daughter representing the family. Oh my God. So it's like, what, when did we get to this level of shame? I'm sorry that like it's certain cultures, they are so filled with so much shame and guilt for themselves
Mm-hmm.
that now they're trying to make their children, they're like throwing it on their children. And I'm like, that's not on me. If you feel shame for yourself, that's
That's
on
on
you.
you. Exactly. That's on you.
So
That's not on me. The goal should be, I want to see my daughter happy. Whatever
right,
she chooses, that is my goal. I want my daughter to be more and better and happier and more abundant than what I am. Not the
mhm,
other way around. Not, I want you to shrink and I want you to stop doing this because that makes me uncomfortable. And I need to be uncomfortable. And my friends need to be
right,
comfortable too, because then it comes not only what your mom or your dad think, but also what their friends are thinking, right? The community is thinking. So they're feeling that pressure and how inconsiderate of you to post a picture kissing your boyfriend on a bikini because you are you are ruining their life. Okay.
Exactly. I just posted an Instagram post a couple days ago, and I said, if you don't know what it would feel like, if you don't know why you would have to distance yourself from your parents in order to keep your sanity, consider yourself lucky. Because I had to distance myself from my parents to gain my sanity, for my mental health. And if somebody doesn't know what that's like, then they are so fortunate. If they have parents who decided to go to therapy, if they had parents that said, you know what, I was not a good parent to you. I didn't do the best that I could. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Wow. Like what the heck? There's parents out there like that are like that.
You
That's
know,
pretty.
it's funny you saying that because I mean, this episode is going to come up like in 3 weeks, but this week in my show, and if you have time, go listen. I did a solo, and I don't do a lot of solos because I'm very blessed that I have amazing people like you that want to be in the show. So I have these great interviews, and I learn so much from it. But once in a while, I have these aha moments that I want to share. And I just finished reading a book by Mel Robbins, and is the Let Them Theory. And I had a moment of shame being a parent because, and I think that this comes back, and you will understand this, um, to me being a child and not feeling protected, or not feeling that I had somebody to back me up, or not feeling that I had somebody in my corner. So I went from supporting and helping to enabling my kids in many ways. And I had a moment with one of my daughters that she was talking to me about something, and I went right back to people pleaser, and I started like, here, baby, this is a link. Call this person and do this, and let me make a phone call and do it, and start fixing the situation instead of allowing her to figure it out on her own. And I apologized to her, and I was crying. I mean, I was like, really, I broke down, and I said to her, I did a disservice to you, because if I would not have protected you so much, then probably you will have an easier time handling these things now. And you don't have those tools, because in one side, I'm telling you, you're capable to do anything, and I'm your biggest cheerleader. But in the other hand, I'm trying to do it for you and fix it for you, and disabling you, to an extent. And yes, we are the best parents we know how to be. But for me, I think that was totally a trauma response, trying to protect her, and not only financially and emotionally, but also physically, because I was also, I also had really bad experience when I was a kid, and I was forced, and I had gone through a lot of abuse. So I wanted to protect them. I didn't want my kids to be molested. I didn't want my kids to have an experience where a guy was forcing them. So I was creating this bubble for them so they will not go through what I went through. And in the process, my message was, I don't think you can handle it. And I had to apologize. And I had to say, I'm so sorry. I get emotional because it's like you have to come to that understanding that your life is not their life. And just me, by being their mom, they having a better chance to have a happier life, because I know how it feels not to have those things. Hey, Mama, I see you. If you're feeling burned out, unmotivated, or like you have lost your sense of purpose and identity, I want you to know you are not alone. I've been there, and I know how overwhelming it can feel. But you don't have to navigate this journey by yourself. I did, and it wasn't fun. So I get you. I have the privilege of guiding and helping so many moms who have felt exactly like you do right now, trapped in a cycle of extreme mental fatigue, constant exhaustion, overwhelming irritability, difficulty concentrating, emotional depletion. I know how isolating it can be when you feel disconnected, even from the people you love, including your kids. And the worst part, the guilt that creeps in, making you feel you should be able to handle it all. But the truth is, you're not failing. You are carrying more than anyone should have to carry alone. And that's why I created my coaching program to support moms like you in breaking free from burnout, reclaiming your energy, and finding joy in motherhood again. I offer one-on-one coaching, transformational programs, and a variety of tools designed to meet you where you are. So imagine waking up feeling calm, motivated, and in control. It is possible, and I would love to help you get there. So you can DM me on my Instagram, the word balance, or you can visit my website and schedule your free discovery call. You don't have to do this alone. Let's take the first step together. And I think at that moment, you and I were talking like a few months ago, and I was telling you, I'm going through this association of who I'm supposed to be and who I am, because when I am who I think and I feel in my gut that I'm supposed to be, and I am meant to be, I feel I'm betraying what I was taught I should be. And that's a process that we gotta go on our own, right?
So true. And if you're betraying who you were this whole time, then who's going to love you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they fell in love with the people pleaser version of yourself. They fell in love with the version of you that you sacrificed, that you were doing exactly what they wanted in order to be loved.
Yeah.
So now that you have your own voice and you're doing your own thing, who's going to actually love you?
Yeah.
And that's really scary. So the authenticity is a very scary piece that people are like, will my friends actually like me still? Like who will be there for me?
Right. I'm not going to be lovable. I'm not going to be worthy of them to love me. But if you take a step back and really think about the situations, then you know that you were never worthy of loving for them. If you would have been, they would have treated you differently. So
Right.
the fact that you had to work so hard to feel that love means that that love was not available for you, that you had to work for it.
And I'm sorry that you had to work for conditional love, because you deserve unconditional love, which is just for being. It's not earned. It's not earned from you sacrificing yourself, you bending over backwards, you walking on eggshells, you forfeiting who you really are to be loved.
Choosing the words. What am I going to say? How am I going to say it? So I don't
Right.
make any waves. So then she doesn't get mad at me, because if she gets mad at me, then she's not going to talk to me for a period of time. And then I'm going to feel guilty. And then the
Right.
gaslighting that goes with that, right? Like, oh my gosh. I'm going through a situation right now, with my mom and my brothers, where I'm putting my foot down. And the gaslighting is incredible. It's like, so again, what it is that you are going to do, what it is that you say you are willing to do, because you don't really do what you can do. You do what you want to do. And it's like, whoa, I'm not engaging into this. As I said a couple of times, I'm willing. Doesn't matter if I want to or I can. I am willing to do A, B, and C. The rest is on you. And that's that. But you got to set those boundaries. And it's harder with the people that we assume should love us than with a stranger. If a stranger does something in the street, you don't have any issue turning around and say, whoa, don't talk to me like that. But when it comes to the people that are supposed to love us, we can do it, because we know what is in risk here. She's not going to love me back. How am I going to live the rest of my life without that love? until you realize that the only person that's supposed to love you is the one looking back at you in the mirror. Period.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everybody else is the cherry on top. If they do
Mhm.
love you, great. If they don't, well, you're gonna miss out.
Mhm.
It's hard. It's hard to come to that.
Yeah. I think the biggest lesson I would also tell my 10-year-old self is stop trying to make your mom happy because she'll never be happy. I think there's so many older women that are still trying to make their mom happy. Oh, I'll marry this guy. I'll have this job. I'll move here. I'll do
Mm.
this. I'll look this way. I'll have this kind of body. So my mom can say, "I'm so proud of you, babe. I'm so proud of
But
you."
you never get that.
You never get
Because
that.
then it's like, and why did you tie your hair like that? But you
Exactly.
and did you gain weight? And
Right.
why are you wearing that dress? I'm like, for Christ's sake, can you say something nice to me?
Exactly.
Listen, when I was a kid, I remember my mom said to me, be careful with your nose because it's the only beautiful thing you have. She probably doesn't remember saying that because it was one of the 1,000 comments that she said to me, but it stayed with me like engraved in my brain, right? So imagine when my first husband smacked me and broke my nose. I'm like, okay, that's it. That's it. I don't have anything. I don't have anything pretty anymore. My nose
Yeah.
is broke. I mean, the
Whoa.
people don't understand the weight of their words. When you're a kid, you take whatever your parents tell you and you run with that and you have it for the rest of your life. I mean, look at this. She probably said that to me when I was, I don't know, 12. 40 something years later, I still think about it because it's a moment that really marked me. That's the only beautiful thing I have. And 1,000 people can come to me and tell me, oh my God, Claudia, you're so beautiful. And I'm still gonna, my mind is gonna go to that moment when they told me that the only beautiful thing I have is my nose. And now it's broken.
Oh
It's
my God.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting go of those beliefs that were so instilled in you at such a young age. Because that's obviously something that your mom had an issue with is like her looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, such an important part of the narcissistic ways is your looks. And if you're not looking a certain way, then you're not worthy of love.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So you put
definitely.
that label on you. And it's
Mhm.
like, if I am not all these things that this person that I want love from wants from me, then I'm not enough. And
No,
you
exactly.
run with that. And in a way, every time you're facing a challenge, you remember that you're not enough
Right.
until you break that pattern, until you say, you know what? You're not the owner of the truth. And I also have beautiful this and beautiful that and beautiful that, if that matters to you. But aside of that, do you know who I am? Because I am much more beautiful inside. Do you want to get to know me? Right? But they don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They don't.
No.
And that's the part that it was, I think, the hardest for me to understand. That no matter how good of a daughter I could be, she always gonna see me with the lenses she wants to see me.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
My doing is not going to change her view of me,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that view is. And it's sad for me because, like your mom, my mom didn't have the opportunity to see the daughter she had.
Mm-hmm.
Because your mom could be looking at you right now and say, I'm so proud of you, Vivian. Look how many lives you're changing. Look how many women you're empowering. Look how much you have grown. Look how you're not allowing the circumstances to hold you back. And you had a vision for yourself that is endless. And I wish I could be you. I wish I would have the courage to do that. But you don't, because she's not capable to do that. You know, I went to a emotional intelligence retreat, and I did the whole thing, and then I coach with other coaches. We had a facilitator and a bunch of coaches, and it was an exercise where your body, you know, the person that is working with you, they assign you somebody to work with you during this process. That's the exercise for you, so that one is the father, and then you're the child, and then you're the mother, and the other one is the child. So you role play things that you would want to tell your parents individually, and then you get a response from the other person that is pretending to be your parent, right? To heal those wounds and those voids that you have. And because I was coaching, one of the other coaches was my mom, and she has been in my breakthrough. So, and she was an older lady at that time. That was many, many years ago. She was an older lady, and and I said some things to her, and I said, I don't know why I was never enough for you, and I have done that exercise when I was a student. Now I was a coach, so the students were doing it on their own, and the coaches were doing it one through another one, which is always great to do those exercises. And so I was saying, I'm sorry, I was never um, I was never the daughter you wanted to have, but actually, I am not sorry because I wasn't able to. I'm sorry that you didn't see who I was. So you thought it was worth it for you to love me because I am a great person. And I'm saying this to this other coach. And she, because she has been in the training before with me, she turned around and she said absolutely everything that I would have need or want or hope my mother would say to me in that moment. And I had my eyes closed, and it didn't matter to me that it wasn't her voice. It just mattered that this other human was holding my hand and was saying to me all these things that I waited so long to hear. And finally, I was receiving it, and I was open to receive it. And I was like, at the end, you know what? I don't need her to say it to me anymore because I got it. And I
Mm.
feel it and I receive it and I thank you. And I feel I don't have that crave to when is my mom going to say these things to me because I got it. And it was magical to me. And sometimes we have to come to the understanding that that person is never going to say it to us, but it's okay if somebody else tell us that.
Mm. Of course. Or if we say it back to ourselves. I tell myself all the time, I'm proud of me. Like this morning, I was just like, I'm so proud of myself. I'm doing some amazing stuff, and I'm just so proud of me. I don't have my parents, my siblings saying that to me. So I'm just constantly like, I'm so proud of me for my journey, for everything that I'm accomplishing. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong to be proud of yourself.
Yeah. Well, I know you have something to do, so we're gonna cut this now. We can talk for another 2 hours, I know. We'll do it on Instagram anyway. I wanted to, I'm gonna have all your links, everything that is coming for you. Is there anything you would like to add?
I love that you invited me on your show, Claudia. I feel like we met for some crazy big reason, and I love your energy. You're so awesome. So I just want to say thank you so much. I feel so grateful that I have this opportunity to have this conversation with you.
I am so grateful that you're here, and I hope there is somebody out there that can get something that move her inside and know that she's worthy of being loved and that she doesn't need to accept anybody else's opinion as who they are. They're
Mm,
loved, they're worthy, and they're enough.
mm, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to the Don't Shrink to Fit podcast. If you like this episode, please write a juicy comment below and subscribe to my podcast. Remember, we can only fly if we embrace each other. Until next week, be happy, be safe, and be kind to yourself.